Wendy, this is one that that you've seen and hear. The myth is the exam grading process is completely automated.
Okay, so yeah, this is a great, I would like to really take the time right now to explain how that process works through AAPC. I think it's very enlightening. I would say if you saw the process, there's been times that I really wanted to make a video to show the process of this grading. So what we have done, and I specifically have worked directly with the programmers to be able to do this. So it is slightly different than even what you would have seen in college, where it's the normal Scantron and it just goes through and grades whatever you've put in there. So what we did was we kind of upped the ante on that. And so when we get the grids that are packaged, they are looked at manually by us. It's important that you fill out your member ID and bubble it in right. It's important that you fill out your book and bubble it in right, because that's a lot of what our manual process in the beginning of this is, filling your grids out if you didn't do it right. Because if it wasn't filled in right on the back, it would be, you know, it wouldn't go through without a hitch. So, I mean, we make it work, and our grading, actually, we do about 100 to 200 grids, check them, make sure everything is 100% once a week. So we do know, I can say probably a 99% chance that everything is going right, correct. There's not really ever any time that it isn't accurate. I had a couple of instances where people called and says, well, I want you to pull my grid and see it. And it is a mess. It was, you know, written on, and it was a mess. But when it actually ended, the final grading was correct. I was shocked because it was writing all over it. But we review it by hand. Then we send it through what is called the Scantron. We send it through, it reads it, and it pulls it up on a screen. So let's say that I went in, I took my exam, and I didn't answer 5 questions, and I marked I marked an answer, and then I erased it and marked it again, but the eraser didn't work very well. So what it does is it brings up a black screen for my team, and it says blank answers. So I look at it and say, yes, it looks like Wendy missed this answer and this answer and this answer, but this one had a little dot in it. So I'm assuming that Wendy meant to mark that. So I can physically mark that on the grid. And then it goes through another process that says it has multiple answers. If I really did put in multiple answers, I'm going to get it wrong, but I can physically see that that multiple answer was intentional. So I could skip it. But let's say that there was some more that were multiple answers, and it was one that I had erased, but I didn't erase good enough. I can unclick it on the computer so it only grades the one that you meant to mark. That's just 2 of the simple ones that it goes through. It goes through about 15 different checks before it's released. So when they say that they're manually done, no, we don't have a little thing up there that we're manually marking them, but it goes through the process and pulls out the anomalies. I can never say that word, and lets us review them and correct them if needed. So it is a great process. I've been doing this process probably, I think, Ray, we probably started this about 10 years ago, and it's honestly the best process, and we're continually adding new things that say, okay, maybe we should check this too.
And I just want to give them an industry example, Wendy, of what you're describing, that those that are working in the field will understand. Think about it as your claims scrubber. You send your claims through an electronic process, and it's going to give you an error report of things that aren't right, that someone has to go back and double check. And then you've got different edits depending on the different problems that have come up. So a human is going in and validating those errors and making corrections where they can make a good sound judgment of what they're deciding. And then from a coding perspective, we have our audits, where a lot of us that are coding are audited to see our quality of coding, right? So there's a sample of our coding that is pulled for an audit, and we get our accuracy rate. So what Wendy's team is doing is pulling those samples for an audit to say, did our system grade everything correctly? And that is where we can tell you with confidence that the grading system is working, because we are doing that audit on the back end.
And another thing that I really wanted to touch really small on is that I know that there have been concerns that the proctors actually take the grids and put them in a separate container. And the reason why we do that is because we want that envelope is waterproof, tear-proof, not lost-proof, but it is waterproof and tear-proof. So if it gets opened up and it's raining or something, those grids usually get back to AAPC. There have been 2 or 3 instances in the whole 20 years that I've been doing this that the grids were lost, and 2 out of the 3 we've retrieved after 6 months. But the proctors do not know the answers to the exams, so they cannot change your grid for the good or the bad, because we would be able to see that, for one thing, if they were messing with the grid, and for another thing, that's why we have 2 proctors. We just try to keep each other safe and honest and check everything. So I just kind of wanted to take that myth and kind of throw that out the door, because I really don't, it would really be caught if something like that was to happen.
Okay. Well, thank you for that clarification. And there's so many checks and balances, and we are very thorough on how we approach our exam grading.
Which again is why, sometimes it takes 5 days and sometimes it takes 7 days, and it's business days after the exam. So a holiday or a Saturday or a Sunday does not count. So just kind of remember 7 to 10 business days.
Now we're talking about the live exam. So if you're taking it online, you don't have the same issues with.
Right. Right. Yeah. The online exam still has a lag time most of the time on the results, but it's all automated as well.
Okay.